My name is Sabrina Pratt, and these are some of the things you should know about the Jim Crow laws. The Jim Crow laws were not the first laws set against the African Americans. Black codes were created prior to Jim Crow laws. These codes were designed to limit African Americans' freedoms by denying their right to vote, testify against whites, serve on juries or state militias, etc. The Compromise of 1877 was also an important factor in the creation of the Jim Crow laws. This compromise resulted from a tie in the election of 1876. In order to influence the outcomes, political leaders from both parties met secretly, and Democratic leaders agreed to nominate Rutherford Hayes as president if the Republicans removed military forces currently occupying the South. After the military forces were removed, white supremacist leaders overtook governmental positions in the South. Another interesting precursor to the Jim Crow laws was the creation of Jim Crow, a theatrical character. This character was often portrayed as a clumsy, dim-witted black slave. Eventually, this character was adopted as a derogatory term for African Americans and came to signify the social and legal segregation of white and black Americans. The Jim Crow laws were first implemented in the late 1800s, and their legality was upheld by the Supreme Court. An example of this occurred in 1896 in the case Plessy v. Ferguson. Homer Plessy had boarded a white-only train compartment in order to protest the legality of segregation. Plessy was arrested for his actions, and his case eventually made it to the Supreme Court. The court ruled that segregation laws did not violate the 14th Amendment as long as the accommodations for whites and blacks were equal. This ruling led to the legitimization of racial segregation throughout the United States. This also greatly impacted the rights that were given to African Americans through the Constitution. One example is shown in Louisiana, in which more than 130,000 African Americans were registered to vote in 1896. However, only 1,342 were registered by 1904, and by 1910 all southern states had excluded blacks from voting. This shows the impact that Supreme Court's ruling had on African American rights, specifically the right to vote, which was granted to them through the 15th Amendment. After World War II, the United States began to get a lot of attention because they were still following segregation rules. However, it wasn't until 1954 that Jim Crow laws and segregation were ruled illegal by the Supreme Court, and desegregation began. These are some of the things that you should know about the Jim Crow laws.